A very good morning to you, Lagos. This is the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. 32 minutes past 6 a.m. It is the 9th of January, 2026. A rainy Friday morning, I need to add. That rain came out of nowhere. I don't know about your area, but it rained on my end. It rained on the island as well. So I hope you are having a very, very good start to the day. No one expected the rain to be dropping like this in the month of January. Raining in January like it's March. I don't know what's going on with the world, but I just hope that it hasn't dampened your spirits as you get into a feel-good Friday morning. This is Ayokunmi here, and this is Business Express. On a Friday, we talk about matters relating to the tech world. Today isn't going to be any different whatsoever. You get to be part of the show as always. Join us on WhatsApp, join us on YouTube as well. You can find us streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, Smooth 981 FM Lagos, and the WhatsApp number it is 0911 0911 That is the WhatsApp number to send your messages to and keep up with us as well. So this morning on the show, we'll be taking a look at ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance, and how tech can actually improve its implementation in Nigeria at the corporate level. So joining me this morning to have a conversation about this to make sense of it all is Motunrayo Simeon. She's an associate financial analyst at IPMC. They just released a new report on ESG ratings in corporate Nigeria. Motunrayo, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Hayo. Thank you very much for welcoming me, and I appreciate joining this show this morning.
Absolute pleasure to have you to talk about this. Now, ESG, as I mentioned, it's environmental, social, and governance, but it goes beyond that. So for those who don't know, what exactly is ESG, just beyond what it means?
Thank you very much for the question. So, when we say what exactly is ESG, ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and it is a framework that is used globally to assess how responsibly companies operate, not just in terms of profits, but in how they impact the planet, the people, and the policies that guide their decisions. At IPMC, we like to say ESG is about how a company makes its money, not just how much it makes. The
Mhm.
environmental in this ESG looks at things like carbon emission, the energy use and the wastes. The social
Mm.
pillar focuses on employee welfare, the community relations and human rights, while the governance examines transparency, ethic and accountability in leadership. When these three areas align, companies perform better financially and earn public trust. ESG has become the global language for responsible investments, and Nigeria is beginning to embrace that reality. I hope that
Oh,
answers your question.
yes, it does. I mean, looking at the definition, the explanation into what it actually is, very interesting concept. Now, it just makes me wonder, how many compliant firms do we have in Nigeria when it comes to ESG standards?
Okay, when we talk about the compliance presently in Nigeria is improving, but we still have a long
Mm.
way to go. Because according to our 2025 IPMC ESG ratings reports, we noticed fewer than 30% of listed firms on the Nigeria exchange provide verifiable ESG disclosure. Most companies have sustainability statements, but they provide very measurable, auditable data. This means we often see awareness, but not full integration. There are growing pressure from regulators like the NGS, SEC, and CBN, and we demand for a more pressure from these regulators and investors as well to screen companies based on ESG performance. So while compliance is still emerging, the momentum is definitely building.
Mm. I like the sound of that momentum building, but implementation that seems to be a problem when it comes to different sectors in Nigeria. We have all the brilliant ideas, the laws, and everything, but to actually implement, that is where the actual work is. And as you said, things are improving. So I'm hoping that the implementation will get better across board as time goes on. Now, you talked about the report, which is the basis of this conversation anyway. It's the
Yes.
Nigeria Companies ESG Ratings Report 2025. Now, it looked at ESG compliance among the different sectors. Now, what would you say actually separates one ESG compliant firm from another one?
Okay. The real difference in governance lies in data consistency. So a true ESG compliance company does not just publish sustainability reports. It embeds ESG in its strategy and decision making. That means the
Okay.
board oversees ESG risk. Data is tracked and verified. The KPIs on diversity, safety, and emissions are tied together to executive performance. For instance, in our 2025 ESG rating reports, companies that consistently measure and disclose ESG data performed up to 30% better in investor confidence and
Oh, wow.
financial resilience compared to
Okay.
those with weak governance. So compliance is not about glossy reports. It is about the structure, the leadership, and accountability.
Right, right. Interesting. Now, what is actually jumping out to me is what we talked about concerning the implementation across board. And I'm just wondering, is it easier for some? Is it difficult for some? Which actually makes me want to know the sectors that these different companies play in. Does the sector make it easier or more difficult for a company? For example, is it easier for a bank to be more compliant than for, let's say, a food manufacturer to be more compliant? Does that matter, the sector that each company plays in?
Okay, the answer is yes and no. It is a mix.
Okay.
Okay, because financial institutions they often lead in ESG disclosure because they are heavily regulated and deal directly with
Hmm.
investors. For example, banks are expected to follow CBN sustainable banking principles and they conduct social and environmental risk assessment before lending. On the other hand, manufacturers or oil and gas firms they face greater environmental challenges such as the waste management, the carbon emission, but they also have the most visible impacts when they act responsibly. In short, ESG compliance depends less on sector and more on how proactive in leadership and it's integrating sustainability in their operation.
Okay, so that kind of clears it up. I guess you can say that the banks or those in the financial sector have a head start because they already have some very serious regulation when it comes to compliance with certain standards and so on and so forth. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So let us bring tech into this whole conversation because it is a Tech Friday. We cannot talk about tech. How
okay.
can technology actually play a role in making a firm more compliant? Because we live in a world where tech more or less dictates a lot of things that we do.
Okay, so how can we bring a tech into a role in this compliance? Technology is the bridge between commitment and credibility. So with digital ESG analytics, like IPMC's firm, they can track their performance in real time, automate reporting, and ensure consistency across departments. Many companies still use manual spreadsheets for ESG tracking, which makes error and inconsistency common. So a digital system, however, can integrate financial, operational, and environmental data, giving companies an accurate picture of their ESG footprint. So technology can only simplify compliance. It builds trust. It turns ESG reporting from a yearly task into a continuous performance tools. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Hopefully, as time goes on, I mean, this is 2026 and things are escalating very, very quickly in a good way, that is, when it comes to tech and how it makes things or makes life a whole lot easier for every. Let's talk about the realities in Nigeria. I mean, do you feel that Nigeria's realities as we are right now, it makes ESG compliance complicated? I mean, let's use an example where power is concerned. Volatile
Okay.
power supply. It means that many firms they have to use generators in order to power their businesses, which will then impact the environment. So do you think how things are in Nigeria plays a part when it comes to compliance, making it less complicated?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the question. They make it challenging, but they also make it necessary. Because in Nigeria, we face infrastructure and power challenges, just like you said. So many businesses rely on diesel generator, which increase carbon emission. But that's exactly why ESG framework are important. They make companies find practical ways to reduce impacts. For example, we've seen firms that invest in renewable energy, energy efficient equipment, and responsible waste management. They aren't just environmental moves, they save costs and they attract investors focused on sustainable finance. So while Nigeria realities are tough, ESG compliance helps turn those challenges into innovation opportunities.
Hmm. I hear you on that one. I mean, this will all boil down to the implementation at the end of the day when it's made more or less mandatory.
Yes.
A firm will have to say, okay, we need to align with these rules and regulations. How exactly can we do that? What can we do in order to reduce our usage of fossil fuels? Or do we get solar power? Do we get wind power and so on and so forth? Okay, so I clearly understand what you're trying to say, that the realities in Nigeria right now should not limit the compliance when it
Innovation.
comes to ENG and innovation at the end of the day. Okay,
Exactly.
now looking at your report, what would you say is the summary of it, and who exactly is the intended audience for it?
Okay. Our 2025 IPMC ESG rating report evaluated 121 Nigeria companies across five major sectors, which are the financial services, the manufacturing sector, the oil and gas, the telecommunication and ICT, and the services sector. It is the most comprehensive ESG analysis on the Nigeria exchange to date because it is built on over 21,000 data points. The report provides
Wow.
clear insight, yes, the report provides clear insight into who is leading in ESG performance, who is lagging behind, what are the risks and opportunity that exist across each sector. The report is designed for investors, for regulators, for the DFIs, the corporates who want data-backed intelligence to make better decisions about sustainability, risk, and long-term value creation, as well as the participants, for them to know where they are and how they can improve.
Hmm. Okay, well, I guess it's a very timely report that has actually come out because we're just starting the year 2026 and looking
Yes.
at the fact that the year is just beginning. There's so much to come down the road in the year. But what do you forecast as better ESG compliance in the year? Do you think we'll see more of that? Do you think we'll see a reduction in compliance or an improvement? What are your thoughts?
Exactly. Yes, we do. 2026 is a year of acceleration. I'll put it that way. Because we're already seeing regulators push harder. The SEC draft sustainability disclosure guidelines, the NGS reporting templates, and even banks aligning with global standard. So the evidence of this shift, they had the evidence. So investor demand for transparency is also growing. That is why high PMC come into the picture. Companies that ignore ESG risk will find it harder to access funding, while those that embrace it will attract DFIs and impact capital. So we expect 2026 to be the year ESG moves from awareness to execution, where we move from our paperwork, enough of we putting ESG in paperwork, but let us execute it. Let the regulators, the investors, let them seek for it. Let them ask the companies, the participants. We want the execution, not the paperwork anymore.
Right, the execution, not the paperwork. I mean, One thing,
Exactly.
one thing I know about Nigeria is that we love theory a lot of paperwork, this report, that one, and so on and so forth. All right, let us execute, let's implement the suggestions and recommendations in the report. It then becomes a problem. So let's talk more work at the end of the day is what we're trying to say. All right, let me
Yeah.
take a message here from Gilbert Musa. He's in Festac. Good morning, Gilbert. He says the ESG models sound credible, but when used to track emissions currently in the Niger Delta region, the response or evaluation results will definitely be unfriendly considering the latest gas bubbles recently discovered in the region. I hear you, Gilbert. So much is going on when it comes to emissions in that part of the country. And we hope that with ESG, it's going to make things a whole lot easier, a whole lot better. I mean, the companies out there are more compliant, then we can definitely see a change in how things operate and pan out. All right, we need to wrap it up on the show this morning. It has been a very interesting one talking about ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance. Motunrayo Simeon has been my guest. She is an associate financial analyst at IPMC. Thank you so much, Motunrayo, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Harry, for having me on this show, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, have a great day and a great weekend
You
ahead.
too.
You take care. All
Thank you
right,
very much. Have a great
thank you.
day.
And you
Yeah.
too. Thank you all so much for being a part of Business Express this morning on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. Don't go anywhere. The Smooth Breakfast is just heating up. We are going to be having more great music and so much more.